Come on in, everybody. Come on in, everyone. I know you're probably like, what is she coming on here and talking about? There has not been a Ready to Love episode. Well, I am actually doing a video on the Christal XO video with Tranika. And I am going to be giving my reaction to the actual interview. Shout out to Christal XO. For the most part, the people doing the interviews are Christal XO and Little Black Book. And I think they both have their different styles, and I think they both do a good job. And I like to watch the interviews when I get a chance, especially with maybe whichever cast member I want to learn more about, or maybe I feel like I didn't understand the cast member. So maybe I want to find out, hey, maybe there's something like, that I didn't know. So when it came to Tranika, if you guys have been watching any of my videos, I have been through a roller coaster of emotions with Tranika. I mean, in the very, very beginning, she was my number one. She was my favorite. I liked her the best. And then as some of the episodes started going on, she started to frustrate me. And by the end of her process, even when she left, I was like, oh, who is the real Tranika? Because I knew her, you have this calm, serene Tranika, and then you have this girl or this woman who blows up at the end when she is eliminated. And not only did she blow up, but this last time she blew up, the first time she was on the hot seat, she blew up then. And then I think I see this this other type of woman. Then I see the woman twerking all over LJ and different things. So I would always be like, I don't know who Tranika is. I really don't know. Is she acting? Is she two different people? I don't know. So I was really interested in watching this Christal XO video of her to see if I got any more insights in Tranika. And I'll just give you just a summary of what I thought on this video. Might end up being long, who knows, as long as I talk about it. But I will say at the end of this video, I do know her a little bit better, but still in knowing her, it's still confusing. I know that sounds weird for me to tell you I feel like I know her better, but then also at the end telling you it's still confusing, because I do think that Tranika has a lot of different things going on in her. And one of the things that explained it to me, she told me she was an Aries, she said in the interview that she was an Aries with a Gemini rising. And I said, now I get it. Because I know Aries, some of my, I have a lot of good friends who are Aries. Let me tell you, they know how to have a good time. They know how to have fun. They know how to, typically they're not always introverted. Sometimes they're extroverted. I just know they're good. They're people who like to have a good time. And then the Geminis, as we know, that they're the twins, right? They have these sort of split personalities. And I would say that, that's how Tranika is to me. She shows up as different people at different times, but I also see this fun side of her. And so I think that in itself, that combination is what confused me. And to be honest with you, as I was looking at a lot of the comments in the live chat, there are other people who are confused by Tranika. So if all of us are confused by Tranika sometimes, I would imagine that in the dating world, she encounters men who are also confused by her. So I don't know what the solution is, but I do know that I'm not just out here like before. I was like, God, what's going on? Why don't I get Tranika? I don't get Tranika. I think some of it is inherent to her personality, and it does kind of create some confusion. Sometimes it can look like contradictions. And as a result, I could see how a person could come away thinking, I don't really know who you are. And maybe that's why she got so upset at the end of the episode when she talked about Mike was sitting there saying some of the guys feel like they don't really know who you are. You didn't put enough effort. And she said she was pissed off at that because that wasn't true. She put forth a lot of effort. I do think Tranika put forth a lot of effort in trying to get to know people. And I said that in my video. I think she was present and I think she showed up. Now, what happened in that course of getting to know people, you come away confused because that's kind of how I feel. She showed up. She said things. She talked. She did all those things. But after even sitting with her in this hour-and-a-half video with Christal XO, I could say I'm still confused. So if I were a man, sometimes I would say, hey, yeah, I spent time with her. I talk with her. I think she's a nice person, but I'm still confused on who she is because in a lot of her speech, what she says and what she does sometimes feels off to me. But I'm going to talk about it. So first of all, she talked about she was really into personal care and self-love and self-care, which I did get that from her straight from the beginning. I thought that she was a nourishing type person, a nourishing person not only to herself, but she was nourishing to others. So when she was talking about that, I could vibe with that. I could feel that. I could feel that what she was saying was really a part of her and part of her soul. And I will say this, I like Tranika's look. So, you know what? She was fresh faced. I mean, she really is a beautiful woman. I mean, I don't know if she had on any makeup at all. It didn't look like she had on much. And let me tell you, she was beautiful. I love the way she had her hair. And I know people might think it's petty. And in fact, she even mentioned, she said, you know what? She really couldn't do her hair because she had broken her wrist maybe a week before at the gym. She said that she had was with a personal trainer and she failed and she broke her wrist. She even showed us the wrist and it definitely is distorted. She said she might even have to have a surgery on it. And so one of the things she said was she would have hoped that people wouldn't have been so nitpicky. And at first it sounded like she was saying nitpicky on her arm, but I don't think anyone was nitpicky on her arm. I think the things that people talked about with Tranika was definitely her hair. And I think she felt that that was trivial and nitpicky. And so she felt like they should have understood the bigger picture, the fact that she had broken her wrist, and people should have had more compassion. And now I understand why she sort of thinks that way more so now. I think Tranika does have a lot of compassion, and oftentimes she referred to herself as an empath. I think she has an enormous capacity for compassion for others. And I think what that does is it translates into she feels as if others should have that same level of compassion with her. And I think when you don't exhibit that same level of compassion, she may feel harmed by you or hurt by you. So I'll say this about how people talked about the wig and the weave, because I was one of those people where I said, you know what? This is a big opportunity. Because the one thing I say about when you're on a big platform or even on a television show, you're really not even there like Ready to Love. You're really not there just for those men that are there. Because listen, we all know we've been watching this Ready to Love for years. Most of these people come away and they don't come away with any connection. But yet you have millions of people watching you. So this is not just an interview or a session with these men on Ready to Love. This is a big stage where there could be plenty of other men watching this show and be like, although it didn't work out with her for Randall, or it didn't work out with her with Mike, or whoever her other connections were, LJ, this woman is a prize. And after this show is over, I'm going to reach out to her. So for me, it's so big of an opportunity that I would have liked for Tranika not just to say, oh, I broke my wrist. I would have wanted her to do what she did this time. She could have easily put her hair up in that sort of bun that she had on this show. And I'm telling you, it was 10 times better than the hair she was wearing on the show. And there's so many stylists out here. To me, there were so many other things that she could do. And the reason I say this is because I think what she was doing was she was resting on the fact that she was hoping people would have more compassion for her broken wrist and they would overlook the hair. And I don't want to stay on the hair too long because actually it's not even about the hair anymore. What I'm coming up with Tranika is this is symbolic of how she actually looks at other people and people sometimes may look at her. She overlooks a lot. She overlooked a lot with Justin. She overlooked a lot with LJ. She overlooks a lot with Randall. And what she wants you to do, because it's what she does, She looks deep inside of you and she sees the best in you. And so therefore, she wants you to dispel any other negative thought you may have and then just focus on the good parts. And I think that's how she does to others. That's why she was able to overlook it with Justin. She was able to overlook some of the things that LJ did towards the end, and still think LJ was a connection, even after LJ brought that sex partner to the freaking meet your friends. And then she's up here FaceTiming LJ, showing her body. We're like, girl, wasn't you just at the dinner where he was sitting next to a woman saying she was in love with him and he brought her to the thing? Why is that forgivable? Because I think what Tranika does, just like she did with Justice, is she overlooks these things. And so then she wants you to overlook it in her too. Now, here's the thing. One of the other things that Tranika said was that she was a very spiritual person. And when she said spiritual, I think she meant in terms of her relationship with God. I'm just going to assume she's a Christian. And I think one of the things as Christians that a lot of Christians do is they really want to stay away from being judgmental. They said, do not judge. That's what the Bible talks about. Do not judge. Do not judge. Okay, but here's the problem in dating. You don't always have to judge and be negative, but you do have to have discernment. And a lot of people think that discernment is about seeing something but then forgetting about it. No, that's not what it is. That's not, because the purpose of discernment is just to keep you out of situations. So you don't have discernment if you see it, but then you always look around it and go around it. And that's what Tranika does. She may say she has discernment. That would mean that she has discernment and she sees it, but then she ignores it. That's not the type of discernment God wants you to have. Does he want you to sit in judgment of other people all the time? Absolutely not. But does he also want you to keep falling back and becoming victim of people? No. So I think Tranika needs to find a better balance between not wanting to be a judgmental person, but also looking at people and saying, listen, this person has a glaring red flag. They have problems with them. So I don't want to necessarily sit in judgment of the person, but I also don't want to get entangled with them. That's two different things. I can see a person and be like, you know what? I'm not going to judge her for it, but that doesn't mean I want to necessarily be friends with her. I don't have to get entangled in other people's stuff or who they are just so I can say I'm not judgmental. And I think there is a part of Tranika that likes to be able to say, oh, she's so forgiving, she's so sweet. But let me tell you who that's coming at a cost to. It's coming at a cost to her. Because what she's doing is she's overlooking really glaring red flags in other people. So at the end of the day, she can be called sweet. She can be called judgmental, but then she's the one paying the price. And you can't keep going through life paying the price for others. She's got to find a way to disconnect from people, to walk away from people, but still not judge them, but also saying that I don't need to accept it and I don't need to put up with it. And I didn't see that in Ready Love, because what I saw her doing with LJ, Justice, and even she goes through here, I see her making excuses for them, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and still staying in the line of fire. She's got to learn to remove herself from the line of fire. When her discernment sees something, she's got to learn how to get out the way. She told this story of how, I think she told on Ready Love how she cried for 3 months, and she kind of told what led up to that because she had a couple of bad relationships. She talked about how she was mad at God, and she was like, God, close off my heart. I don't want to love anymore. I don't want to feel anymore, because, she was getting her heart broken out here. She told us about a story where she decided to try something new. And she decided to date another guy that was younger than her. I think she was 34 at the time. She said, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to date this guy who's 25, because nothing had been working before. So she tried something new. So this is also where I'm going to disagree, because I think a lot of people out here are told when things aren't working, they say, try something new, try something new. My thing is be someone different, because I actually think this is one of the problems. I think a lot of people find it easier to find someone new, to try something new, than it is to actually change parts of themselves that are actually causing problems in their relationship. And when Tranika was saying that she dated this guy who was 25, much younger than her, sounded like he was immature because she said that he broke up with her, saying that, he didn't deserve her. She was too nice for him. He's 25. He probably was too young to be in the type of relationship that she might have wanted to be in. I'm not saying all 25-year-old men are immature, but that still is a lot. That still is early for a 25-year-old man to be sometimes mature enough and ready enough to be in a relationship like a 34-year-old woman would want to be. So it might have been too soon for him, what she was looking for. So I think that trying something new is probably something she doesn't need to think of it in that context. I think it's an easy way out for a lot of people. Try something new, try something new. Sometimes the answer is be something new. You be something new. Take back control of your life and not just wait and not just keep looking for someone else to be something different for you. You be a different person. You actually do the work to be the different person. So then you attract different people and you get involved in different people. Not that you just keep going out looking for someone else. That goes in line with what I talked about on our little Q&A about when people think, don't change anything about yourself. Just keep doing the same old thing you're doing and eventually your person will come around. I don't believe that either. And I know Christal XO, I like her, but at the end of this show, she kind of gave Tranika that advice. And you know what? People have several different aunties in their life. And I'm going to be the other auntie that says, I know I don't agree with that because we all change. So when I hear a person say, oh, well, you know what? My husband showed up and I didn't change anything about me. I said, well, when did you start wanting to get married? And go, well, I've been wanting to get married since I'm 25. Well, when did you eventually meet your husband? Well, I met my husband when I was 32. Well, you changed. Okay. There is no way you are the same person at 25 than you were at 32. Now, you might not have had to go in and do an overhaul change, a big drastic change, but there is no way you are the same person at 25 that you were at 32. So when you're lucky, when your man, the dream of your life walked into your life at 32, you weren't the same person. You might have changed a little bit over time. You might not have changed a whole lot overnight. You may not have even done it purposefully. But let me tell you, you changed. And sometimes that change you became at 32 is what attracted that man. It wasn't that you stayed still and stayed stuck. See, this is the difference between people who stay stuck for a long period of time because they keep waiting. They say, I'm going to be the same person and I'm going to just wait for someone else to come along and fulfill my role. And so they take the slow road. They take the slow road of change. But what if you actually actively participated in your change? Sometimes you can get through that change even faster. So if you didn't put any effort into changing, it may take you 10 years. But could you imagine if you said, you know what, I'm going to help this change along. I'm just not going to sit back and not think of anything, but I'm actually going to actively participate in my change. So sometimes you reach your goals a little faster. Maybe that guy would have come into your life 5 years earlier. Let me tell you, spiritual people believe in God. God's your best friend. Oftentimes, people say they're waiting on God. God is waiting on you. Okay? God's not changing. God is the same person today, tomorrow, yesterday, today, whatever. So he ain't waiting to change. You're not waiting on him to change. He's waiting on you. So when you take the philosophy in life that you're not going to change, okay, well, I guess God going to be waiting a long time for you. So I don't believe in this idea that I don't need to change to meet the love of my life because God will send me the right person. I don't believe in that. I'm not saying you have to make drastic changes, but you absolutely need to be pointing a spotlight on yourself and asking, what are some things that I can do about myself that makes that man that God wants from me to be more welcoming in my life? That means you have to change. So I don't believe this thing about don't change, God will send you the person. No, because you're going to change. No one is going to stay the same person forever. You can change slowly or you can change more quickly. And so if you were the same person at 35 as you were when 25, I say something's wrong with you. You're not learning lessons out here. You're not doing something because nobody should be the same person they were 10 years ago. Absolutely not. So when Tranika started talking about, she said one of her love languages was acts of service, which I can relate to that because actually that's my top love language as well, which is acts of service, which is interesting because it's so interesting that her love language was acts of service, but she was so willing to forgive Justin or Justice and for his lack of service. Now, Christal XO said, you know what, I don't understand how you're forgiving of Justice so much. And Tranika had an answer for Justice all the time. You know, she said, well, we didn't see what Justice was. Justice was, you know, kind and caring, and he did all these things for her. This is what she said. And so Christal XO was saying, well, wow, that's interesting that you saw it. But the fact that Justice was voted off and none of the other women saw it, then I would say, well, why is Tranika the only one that saw it? Okay. And what I think, one of the things Tranika started talking about was she heard all these things that Justice was doing to other women or not doing to other women. But she said that she overlooked it all. Like I said, she overlooks the bad because she wants to concentrate on a person's good. But you know who that comes to? Her detriment. So what she said was, I'm not going to judge Justin over how he treats other women. I'm going to judge him by the way he treats me. Well, here it is of the problem. That means you don't learn from other people's mistakes. When a man is treating other women badly and poorly, and you say, I'm going to wipe his slate clean, and I'm only going to go off the way he treats me, then what you're saying is you're disregarding a huge part of him, because a large part is how people interact out in the world. Listen, if a person is treating everybody else poorly and he's treating me nice, I'm not going to give that much credit, because all I'm thinking about is how can you be so nice to other people, but then, be so mean to other people, but be nice to me? Because then what you're choosing to believe is that when you're with me, that's the real part, but the part of being mean to other people, that's the fake part. So you're being fake, being mean to people, but you're being nice to me is the real part. See, this is the same problem that Kayla got in with Mike, that women start dividing and saying, I see these two parts of men. I see their good part and their bad part, but which part do I believe? Do I believe the part that's done in the dark with me when no one is watching and he's nice to me? Or do I believe the part that's done in the light when everyone is saying how mean he is? The audience is talking about it, all the other ladies. And what Tranika chose to believe was the part that was done in the dark. The part where she said he was nice to me in the dark, right? But in the light, in front of everyone else, her friends, everyone saw that this guy is mean. He's got a lot of problems. So just like Kayla is believing Mike in the dark, she's not believing Mike in the daylight. She's chosen to believe her in the isolated moments. That's the part you shouldn't believe. That is the part that you shouldn't believe, because that is the real revealing part. And what she did was she made a lot of excuses for Justice. She also said, and then Christal XO challenged her, which I thought, she goes, wait a minute. How did you come to the conclusion that he was really this nice guy and all of us really didn't know him? Did you go out on dates with him and it was completely different? She goes, no, I really didn't have any dates with him. So then what are you talking about? What evidence are you going off of? She says, well, did you talk to Justin on the phone? No, I really didn't have any phone conversations with him. Well, what are you going off of? You know what she's going off of? She's going off with her own desire to look at the best, right? Her desire to see the best in Justin is overruling what her eyes are seeing and what everyone else is seeing. So when she says she has discernment, she really doesn't have discernment. She's saying she sees it, but she overlooks it. That's not discernment. And this is why her friends are important to her, because what her girlfriends did for Tranika, this is why, her friends, really people liked her friends when her friends were vetting Justin for her, is because her friends told her the truth. And like her friend said, she felt in her bones that man is not a good man. And Tranika had to listen to her friends because she trusted her friends. But what Tranika said was, prior to that, she was 2 feet in with Justin. And even to this day, she still says he was her strongest connection. Why, Tranika? With all that he showed you, why were you so drawn to him? Why were you so willing to overlook all these things. And she told another thing. She said, you know what, in her past relationships, she says she has a 3-month vetting process, and she says she doesn't introduce any of the guys she's dating to any one of her family, or she doesn't introduce them to her friends. Now, I would say that's okay for a person who has good discernment, but for Tranika, I think this is a bad idea. It is a bad idea because Tranika overlooks too much. Tranika actually needs to start introducing the guys she's dating very, very early to some of her friends and friends who she trusts. Does it mean she introduces them to all of them? No. But she needs to pick 1 or 2 girlfriends, maybe the ones that came on the show. And she needs to start letting those friends weigh in on those guys to some level. Because Tranika thinks she has the gift of discernment, but I'm not going to say she doesn't. Okay, I don't want to take away a gift she believes she has. I'm going to say she's using it incorrectly then. Let me just say that. She's using it incorrectly, and she actually needs some friends to say, listen, you're overlooking too much. You're giving this guy the benefit of the doubt too much. Because even when Christal XO started talking to her about LJ, remember, LJ showed up with this woman who he was sleeping with. Tranika says, oh, I'm an empath. I really can pick out a lot of things and see a lot of things. So that was why I peeped the energy of that girl real quickly. I peeped the energy of LJ real quickly. That's how I knew something else was going on with her. Good. You got it, Tranika. Gift of discernment. You hear it coming through. But what does Tranika do? She dispels it. She dispels it. She still starts considering LJ her strongest connection. She's still disappointed that LJ didn't stroll up to the house. She's still FaceTiming LJ showing her body. So I'm like, what good is the gift of discernment if you're not going to use it? You know what Tranika said? She appreciates honesty. That's what she said. She gave credit to LJ and to that woman, Lauren, for their honesty. She said she gave credit to Justice for their honesty. And because they were both being honest with who they are and not trying to be sort of fake and phony, that's what allowed her in some ways to overlook their faults. No. Listen, y'all know I love an honest person. And I've told people I'd rather a man be honest with me and put a bullet to my head, put the dart right here between my forehead, than to lie to my face and have to figure it out. But I'm going to tell you what, your reward for being honest to me about something that's bad is not going to be then I just have to always forgive everything you do. Absolutely not. I would rather have the honesty, and I'll sit there and I'll listen and I'll do, but I am still going to say, hey, I appreciate the honesty, but that doesn't mean I need to get entangled with it. What Tranika is rewarding is she's rewarding, hey, I'm going to reward your honesty, and therefore I'm going to overlook all these flaws in you. No, that's not what you do. There's a balance. Maybe she believes acting off of what you know about a person is judgmental. I actually think that's what she's trying to avoid. I think Tranika is trying to avoid being judgmental of people. And as a result, she has to overlook a lot of stuff. So she isn't deemed as judgmental. That's what I really think it's all about. But like I said, in her overlooking things, in her wanting not to be judgmental, in her wanting to accept people, what she's doing is she's actually making all the sacrifices, and she ends up becoming the loser in it. And she needs to change a part of that. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have to do that sometimes, but I think she's doing it too much and too often in dating. The type of leeway she's giving to people in dating is something she should reserve for maybe a husband. A husband would love Tranika because Tranika is very forgiving. Tranika will wipe the slate clean. Tranika will be wonderful in a relationship because that is actually a characteristic you need for a long-term relationship. Because in a long-term relationship, people are going to do a lot of things that's going to disappoint you, going to upset you, or whatever. And you actually need to have a forgiving heart, because if you don't learn to forgive people, you just keep carrying it on and on and on. And then eventually it starts to weigh the relationship down. So you do have to have the ability to forgive and forget. But what Tranika is doing is she's bestowing this gift of forgiving and forgetting too early on a man. And let me tell you something. I actually think it's working against her. You know, I think one of the reasons why a lot of these men were not interested in Tranika is because I think what they saw in Tranika was that she was too forgiving, and it was too easy for them in the beginning. what they saw, what they felt was she didn't have any standards or criteria, that they could almost do anything and she would be okay with it. See, she looks at it as being forgiving, but what a man can look at it as is you don't have any standards and I don't need to work for you. So I can put you on ice, and because I know you're going to be here all the time. I could do whatever and you're going to be in my corner. It's the same way. It's what happened with Justice and LJ. Justice could do anything. He could say anything, act any kind of way, and it didn't matter. She was going to be right there next to his side. Men look at it as you, the puppy dog. She looks at it as she's a forgiving person. But that doesn't always work in your favor in dating, because men aren't necessarily always turned on for that. They like it once you're married to them because they want to be forgiving. But in the beginning of the relationship, men want to feel as if they have to chase after you. They have to work for you. And when you don't have any standards for them and you don't set boundaries for them, they think, wow, I could just treat her any old kind of way. And not only do they realize they can treat you any kind of way, they say she will put up with it from anybody, so she doesn't seem special. Randall actually alluded to it on one of his dates. He said, you know what, Tranika laughs too much. It sounded really petty and stupid, but what Randall was really saying is, Tranika laughs at everybody, so I'm not really that funny. What he's saying is, she laughs at everybody's jokes, so I don't feel special. And we all know that Randall likes to feel special. So when she's going around laughing at every guy, he looks at it and says, oh, I ain't special because she laughing at me. When she's going around forgiving every man for whatever they do, another man comes on and says, oh, I guess I ain't special. She forgives all these men. Anybody can do this to her. They don't feel special. And I think that's a reason why a lot of men, they didn't understand Tranika. Tranika said something other, and she also said that the rumor going around in the circle was that she was psychic. So she goes, she feels like she's an empath or she's empathetic. She says, but they were saying that she was a psychic. I guess because, I don't know, they just said somehow or another she sees things. She goes, I am not a psychic. I'm not a psychic. But I do remember this scene, y'all, where when they were at that vacation home for the getaway weekend, she was up in the room, Sage in the room. I don't know if y'all saw it. It was a real small clip, and it was really quickly, but she was Sage in the room. And see, this is what I mean about contradiction. First of all, Sage in a room, a lot of people do it. They do it to clear out energy, but saging is not a Christian principle. It's not. It's rooted in witchcraft and it's rooted in other things. I'm not saying you don't do it. I've burned sage before. Lots of people have done it. But what I'm telling you is that these are the type of contradictions where people can get confused with you, that you talk about God and Christianity, but then somehow you participate in things that are clearly part of, that have been tied to witchcraft. And then, like I said, the men thought that she was a psychic. So it can be like, wait a minute, I don't understand this whole thing about how God is most important, but I see you doing these other types of things. It's confusing. I'm not going to judge you for it, but I'm also not going to dispel what I see with my own eyes. I'm saying, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you, but it's confusing that when my ears hear one thing and I see another, it's confusing. It's the same way I said with Randall. Randall says one thing, but he does another. So after a while, all I can do is go off of what I see and not off what I hear. And what Tranika does is she goes off what she hears, and she doesn't even go off what she sees. And sometimes she don't even go off what she hears, to be honest with y'all. But she said she liked Justin because she said one time he laid this line on her talking about that when Justin says, when I talk to you, he says, when I talk to the other woman, it feels like I'm eating tacos. But when I talk to you, it feels like I'm eating soul food. Boy, what a line. And so she said she liked that. That was a compliment to her. And that's what I think. I think it is a compliment to her. But it's also what he's saying is that you don't judge my soul. You don't judge my spirit. So what he feels is that I can say and do anything to you, and you don't have the same reaction that other women have. Well, that in itself isn't a compliment. Because what that says is I don't feel judged by you, but it also means I can abuse you and you don't do anything about it. That's the part Tranika needs to work on, and that's the part I think she's having a problem with in dating, because she thinks she's vetting these men and she's not. She may be discovering the red flags of these men in the 3 months, but she's not doing anything about it. She's forgiving all of it. So what difference does it make? What difference does it make if you see it, but you don't do nothing about it and you don't avoid them? What good is the gift of discernment? The gift of discernment is supposed to protect you. It's supposed to put a hedge around you. Now, do I like the women who don't forgive anything or always so scrutinizing over men? Absolutely not. I don't like those type of women because they have walls up. You always talk about the wall women. They don't let anything get by them. But Tranika is on the way other end of the spectrum. She is absolutely not a wall woman. I talk about this in all my videos. Women who have big walls of protection up, they don't let any man in. Tranika is the complete opposite. She actually needs to establish more boundaries. She actually does need to put in place a few more protections for herself so that she doesn't fall victim to some of these men out here. Because the more these men victimize her, the more part of her is destroyed or harmed or hurt. And that's what I don't want to see happen to her anymore. So when Christal XO says, oh, don't be any different, be yourself, and the right guy will come along, I don't agree with that, because the more she keeps being this wide open person, not using her gift of discernment, the more damage other men can do to her, to the point that when the right man does come available, she'll be so ruined by these other men, right? That the right man that comes along, not only will she not recognize him, she'll be so damaged she won't be able to invite that man into her life. So I do think there's some things that Tranika needs to change about herself. And I think she needs to be, I won't say more discerning because she thinks she is, but I would say she needs to act on her discernment more quickly. And until she gets to that point, she needs someone else in her corner looking out for her. And this rule she had by not introducing her friends to any of her guys for 3 months, absolutely not. She needs to get her friends involved more quickly, because after 3 months, women are already in love with a man. So by the time you introduce this man to one of your friends and you've been dating him and being with him for 3 months, you are in love. And now your friends feel bad telling you the truth because you are coming to them in love with a man and they're like, this man ain't crap. That's why those friends were so comfortable being able to tell her up front, Justin is full of crap. They were probably happy that they were able to get involved with Tranika so early before she got involved with Justin. She said, leave him alone, leave him alone, leave him alone. Those friends did her a big, big favor. I mean, she made up a bunch of excuses with Randall as well. You know, she talked about, Randall is a nice guy. She liked his nerdiness and all these other kind of things. I tell you, I probably will never find a woman who said they don't like Randall. And this is what I mean about not being judgmental. This is a perfect example, okay? I can look at Randall and I could say, you know what? Randall's probably a nice guy. He's probably a sweet guy. I don't think he walks around necessarily trying to maliciously harm women. I don't think that's his role. Even Christal XO and Tranika said, I don't think that he's a player, a playboy, in terms of he's running around, my eyes, running around, sleeping with a bunch of women doing that. I don't think any of that at all, right? But that doesn't mean I can't see the things about Randall that are not conducive to a healthy relationship. You see, I can see things in Randall and say those things are nice qualities, but I also can see things about Randall that don't make him a good partner. Does that mean I sit in judgment of Randall or I'm being judgmental of Randall? No, because if I don't look at things and say, hey, I see this and these are good qualities, but I also can see how some of your qualities could be damaging a relationship, that doesn't mean I'm judging you for it. Because what is the point of discernment, or what is the point of being able to look outwardly and see things if you're not able to see the good and the bad and be able to say, hey, you know what, how can we make this bad better? Because when you don't want to acknowledge what's bad, not only do you overlook it, you don't even work on it. When you're always just forgiving everything people do wrong, then what happens is you don't require them to work on it. You don't require anything better, so nothing gets better. Part of improvement is looking at looking at yourself too and saying, what is it about me that can be improved? Everybody should be in continuous improvement. Everyone should be in continuous improvement. That's why I don't prescribe to don't do nothing, just keep being yourself. No, we should be in continuous improvement in every facet of our life, whether it's our spiritual walk, continuous improvement, whether it's our professional career, continuous improvement, whether it's our health, trying to be healthier, continuous improvement. There is literally probably no facet of our lives where we should just be so content that we're ready to sit down on a rock and do nothing more. Absolutely not. So, you know what? Like I said, Tranika, I think she's really overlooking too much. I do think that she is a sweet girl. I think that she will probably make a phenomenal wife to a man, because she actually has the characteristics of forgiving and forgetting. And I think that is one of the things, that part of your heart is very needed in a relationship. So I think that part, but she's using that gift way too fast in the dating process. In the dating process, you need to be able to sift through people. You need to be able to discard those that are not right and draw in the people that are right. But when you don't throw anyone out and you're accepting of everyone, your process is jacked up. Your process is all jacked up. Trinika's dating process is all jacked up. She's accepting of everyone. She's forgiving the wrong people. And then she's also not asking for help in the discernment process, which is where she actually needs the help. She actually needs to overhaul a lot of things about it. Now, does that mean she needs to actually change all these things about her? No, she doesn't. But there's some few key things she absolutely needs to change. Otherwise, she's going to actually keep falling victim to people out here who love the Trinikas of the world. There are too many people out here who love to get with a woman who doesn't hold them accountable, willing to overlook their flaws all the time. Way too many people willing and ready to take advantage of the Trinikas of the world. And Tranika has to stop being a victim to those type of people. Absolutely. She needs to, and the way she stops being a victim to those people is not telling God to shut off her heart, is not sitting around waiting for a different guy to come. It's for her to change. You see, Trinika's putting all the work somewhere else. She's telling God, shut my heart off. Don't let anyone in. She's saying, send me another person. No, the solution lies with you, Tranika. You can be different. All this stuff you're asking God to do, he will help you, but he needs you to do something too. He needs you to, if you have that gift of discernment, he needs you to start using it. He's giving, if he's given to you already, he's giving you all this discernment, impact. He wants you to use it. He doesn't want to give you gifts and you don't use it. And lastly, she tried to explain this whole blow up at the end when she blew up over getting eliminated. And she tried to backpedal on it. I didn't buy it. But now that I know who she is, I completely understand the blow up. Because when she talked about, I'm disappointed in you, the story she told was that when she first got there, Mike was trying to pretend like he was really interested in her, like it was like a setup. And she knew he wasn't interested in her, so she felt like he was trying to fool her and trick her. And she didn't appreciate that because she felt that he was lying. But prior to that, she already knew that when she got the phone call on a Sunday, that more than likely it meant that she was getting eliminated. So even Christal XO called her on and said, well, hey, if you're getting the call on a Sunday, you know that it probably means that you're either on the bottom or you're about to get eliminated. So why would you still be mad at Mike? Because he's really just doing his job. It wasn't as if he singled you out. They chose him to tell you. So the fact that he brought you along and tried to pretend and say these things to you, why would you blow up at him? And she's, oh, because I felt he was lying to me. No, I don't think that. Because what she said in her words was, I'm disappointed in all of you. I think what Tranika thought was everyone should overlook all the things you didn't like in me, because that's what Tranika does. Tranika sees things in other people and she overlooks it. So now what she felt was here was Mike sitting in judgment of her. That's what I think she felt. Here was Mike telling her the things that the man didn't like about her. And she felt, how dare you tell me these things you don't like about me? Because in my world of Tranika, I overlook these things. This is what we do in Trinika's world. We overlook things people don't like, I don't like about people. So that's what I expect from you. And that's what I mean. What she gives to others, she then expects it in return. But that's not how the world works, because everybody doesn't always forget everything. And so she said she also didn't like that Mike was making up stuff about, oh, you didn't try. And I agree with her. But I also understood that this is how they all go. And even Christal XO said, well, this is how all the eliminations go. They just say general stuff. Exactly, Christal XO. So why were you taking it so seriously, Tranika? They got to come up with something, because you know what they're not going to tell you? They're not going to tell you the truth. All these eliminations say the same thing. They never tell the woman the whole truth, because they know most women can't handle the truth. We saw all last year when women was getting the truth, they was blowing up, cursing men out, you think men want to tell women the truth now about why the men really don't like them? Heck no. They're going to give you a generic answers, and you're going to feel, maybe you feel like they're lying to you, whatever, but no man anymore is going to be telling women the truth of why they really didn't like you. And Tranika, if she really wants to hear the real thing, I don't know, she'll have to go to a guy who's willing to tell her the truth without, feeling like sad that he'll hurt her feelings, because I think Tranika is a nice person, and I think most people won't want to tell her the truth because they'll be afraid they'll hurt her feelings. And she's a nice person, and most people don't want to hurt the feelings of nice people. So even here in my little video, I'm not here to hurt Tranika's feelings, because I do think that she is a nice person, but I am willing to go out on a ledge and tell her what I think, my truth. Doesn't mean she has to believe everything that I say. It's just what I see. And I see that she is giving men a way too much of a pass in vetting of them early in their relationships, and she's the one paying the price for the pass. And I think what she needs to have to do going forward is she needs to change that about herself. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have to think and hope for the best for people, but it doesn't mean that she has to become a victim of it. Okay, that's two different things. Okay, and just because she decides to cut loose someone or say, hey, I don't want something deeper, it doesn't mean that she's judgmental. You can reject things and not sit in judgment of it. My friend can sit here and say they want strawberry ice cream, and I say, well, I don't want strawberry, I want chocolate. And I say, I don't really like strawberry. It doesn't mean I'm judging you for liking strawberry. It just means it's not for me. I'm not judging you. Keep on eating your strawberries. I'm not telling strawberry ice cream. I'm not telling you you have to eat something different. I'm just saying it's not for me. And that's the way she should have handled Justin. Justin was very vocal in who he was, what he liked to do. And I would say to Justin, wonderful. You can keep being that person. I'm not going to tell you to be different. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I'm also going to tell you at the same time, it doesn't work for me. Because that's what Justin did to other people. He stuck to his word. He stuck to what he wanted to do. And he told other women, but you're not for me. Right? So I can respect Justin being honest, but that doesn't mean I would want to be with Justin. And Tranika can do the same thing. She doesn't have to, and she doesn't have to be nasty like Justin. She can say, you know what? I respect your opinion. I respect the things you want in a woman. I respect what you want, but it's not for me. And she said in the end, the reason why she let Justin alone is because her friend said, I want a woman who's going to chase me. And she said, oh no, I couldn't go for that. Well, there you go. And that's what I mean. But it took her friends to say it. And remember, normally she doesn't even introduce her friends to her boyfriends. That's why she be getting tangled with men. And by the time her friends meet them, they're like, dang, girl, you should have never gotten tangled with this man. Now you're going to wind this. Now your heart's all into it. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. But anyway, that's my review of the Christal XO interview with Tranika. And as people get eliminated, I'm sure Little Black Book and Christal XO are going to be doing more interviews. So I'll probably do a recap reactions to the interviews, because now we're starting to talk more about people who are on the show a little bit longer. I know a little bit more about them, so I definitely want to see how my image of them on the show is different for how they show up in the actual interview. And I can tell you this about Tranika. My perception of Tranika didn't really change that much. She is confusing because I think that's the Gemini in her. And I think she needs to actually take some of that confusion out of the way she moves in the world, because I think men are confused by her too, actually, to be honest with you. And I think that is confusing to someone in dating, because they don't know what they're getting. And what happens is people don't trust it. People don't trust it. When you don't have any boundaries, like, wait, you got to have some rules, some boundaries. How you don't have no boundaries? Who are you really? That's why when that yelling is not, she didn't yell, but when that person came out at the end, that's why Randall was so confused by her, because he was like, who is this Tranika? When really that Tranika was there all along. She never let that side of Tranika out, but she was there all along. And that's why Randall ended up being confused. But that's it, y'all. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.